This is Be the Solution podcast. And today we have our guest, Holly Chris. And we will talk about building an organization rich in accountability, but at the same time, recruiting the right agents to your core values. Holly is a highly accomplished professional serving as the director of sales and integrator at the Golfi team and also a coach at Cheplack Select Coaching. She has over 20 years in sales and an impressive track record of delivering outstanding results. At the Golfi team, Holly has played a pivotal role in the team's remarkable growth. In just 3 short years, she has successfully expanded the team from 23 agents to a thriving force of 75. Her strategic leadership and expertise have been instrumental in driving this remarkable achievement. In addition to expanding the team size through Holly's leadership, the team has significantly enhanced its sales performance. Within a single year, the team doubled sales from 450 million to an impressive 850 million annually. This outstanding accomplishment is a testament to our excellent sales acumen and ability to drive exponential growth. We are excited to speak with Holly today, and we're going to dive right in. Welcome, Holly Chris, to the Be the Solution podcast. I am so excited to speak to you today, Holly.
I'm excited to be on. Thank you for thinking of me.
Absolutely. So we'll dive right in talking today about building an organization rich in accountability. I do that one, but we're going to unpack it today and having fun at the same time while you're driving that accountability and bringing the right agents into your organization with the same core values.
Yes.
So, Holly, I've known you for a few years. You're with the Rob Golfi team in Canada, and Rob brought you in a few years ago. So let's dive right into that from there.
Sure. Yeah, I joined the team in the fall of 2019, and it wasn't looking for a career change at that moment, but Rob and I both knew a mutual person, and he had been looking for a sales leader. And this is, tends to be a bit uncommon, but he was looking specifically for a sales leader that wasn't licensed. So I was at the time regional director of sales for a large media organization. So I'd been leading sales for over 10 years at that point at that organization. So he reached out to say, hey, what are your thoughts on a big change? And it definitely was, a big decision and a big change. I had been working at that large organization since I was like 18 years old. So I kind of thought I was going to retire there, but I'm glad that I kind of took that leap of faith and you kind of put myself out of my comfort zone and made a big change. And at the time it was a change because, Rob was promising me, a life of a better work-life balance than being in that corporate environment where I started at 9, I ended at 5, which meant my kids had to be dropped off at daycare at 7 and picked up at 6. And, I had little ones starting kindergarten, and it was important to me to be able to be there for them. And this job, although, you kind of laugh at a work-life balance in a world of real estate, but it in certain ways, I'm working, 7 days a week in a sense, but I'm able to, I never miss a Christmas concert or a class trip or those things. So it's been a really amazing journey. Absolutely.
So you started in 2019. You don't have any background in residential sales in real estate. So what are some of the first things that you do to get acclimated and for the team to buy you?
Yeah, that was the hardest part. And the team, I wouldn't say that they were, I love and adore them, but I wouldn't say, and I've admitted to them before, they were not overly welcoming.
I know that, but I kind of had a feeling based upon, a newcomer, right?
For sure.
A newcomer,
and it was like,
this
what
woman doesn't know about crap in real estate. And so how did you get the buy-in?
Yeah. So I spent, a good portion of the first couple months on the team, just going out for lunches with them and just building connections. And, they asked me those questions and I'm thankful now. I was thankful at the time, but I'm really thankful now that they were direct with me and saying, what are you going to offer me? Like, how are you going to help me? You don't even know how to write up a contract. Like, I don't understand where we're going with this. And, my response to them is, hey, I'm going to going to help all of you in the same way. I'm going to find my unique place with each and every one of you where I can support you and help you build more sales and more money and be more successful in this business. So I had basically I had a notebook. I don't even know if I still have it. And at that time, there were 23 agents on the team, and I wrote everybody's name in that notebook. And my goal was to basically just put a check mark next to each of their names as I win with them. So if I was able to help that agent in some way, and the ultimate goal was for them to say like, wow, thanks. So if I got like a wow, thanks, then I would put a check mark beside their name. And that was a win for me and move on to the next. Like I had to find a way to prove my value, big or small, with each and every one of them. And then over time, and it really didn't take that much time for them to say, oh, okay, I get it. I get how she can help me. I get that she's not here to make my life hell. I get that, I can start to see the future. And they challenged me and they said, you're crazy for walking away from a secure job like that because, bets are being placed on you that you're not going to make it, past 6 months. And my answer to them every time was, those people are going to lose. I am going to be here. I am determined. I'm going to make this happen. I am confident that you guys will see my value at one point. And I went at it with kindness and with confidence and just to say, hey, you tell me how I can help you and I'll do it. I'll show up for you. And that's built trust over time.
And here we are 4
Yeah.
years later.
Yes. And it's, and so we've grown significantly over that time. It was nice. I'd only been on the team for a couple of months when I took my first trip down to Nashville. And that's when I saw you speak for the first time. And where I met, Chet Black and, was able to kind of, get exposed to this community. And that community, I would say, played an absolutely instrumental role into my growth and development. It was basically where I looked to say, okay, I'm building this role here, and, the Hamilton, Niagara region in Ontario, like, what do I need to, what's Maria doing, in Philly to make this happen? What's Justin doing in Calgary? What's Dan doing in San Diego? Like I'm learning from all of these people and all different parts of the world and then applying it into my local market. And so you guys gave me the path basically, which was amazing.
It is an amazing community, that is for sure, Holly. I was just thinking that it was January 2020 when we met, and I spoke on stage at that time. And then we had the wonderful pandemic.
Yes.
And now
my
you're
God.
probably 8 months into the position or so.
I think a bit less than that even. It was scary. Yeah.
And so how did you get, now you've been with them and you got the buy. How did you continue to get to rein in that accountability at that period in time?
So the first year, okay, so I was coaching with John in January. Then the pandemic hit. The world, everything turns upside down. And I have to hand it to Rob, like our team leader. I was barely comfortable in my role yet at that point. And I was thinking, okay, I'm getting downsized already. Like my seat's barely warm and he's not going to be, we don't know what's going to happen. He might, have second thoughts about this new role that he had brought in. But at that time he said, look, Holly, everybody is sleeping right now. Everybody is scared. Everybody's pulling back. This is when we fling forward as fast as we possibly can. So we didn't work hard. Like there was no time in my life where I've worked harder than those first few months of that pandemic. And, I'm at home with a 2 and 4 year old, I ended up having a nanny at home that I'm working. Like, yeah, it was wild time to be around, but it was fun. And we learned a lot during that period. But one thing I didn't do right away is that accountability piece. And so throughout that year, I thought, okay, I can do this differently. I can just, encourage the agents and offer training and offer support. And, I can give them examples of how working in the CRM is going to work. And I don't need to, lead with an iron fist. Like I can them how this can benefit them without having to have strict accountability measures in place. So that was 2020. And really there was no increase in accountability by the end of 2020. We were growing our team. We were doing lots of big, amazing things, but the team they were not living in the CRM system. They still didn't have strong accountability measures in place a year after I was on the team. So December 2021, I had some tough calls with John, and we said, look, like, we have to make a change. Like, I'm scared at how the senior agents are going to adapt to it. I'm scared at how they're going to react to it. We have an amazing culture, an amazing morale on our team. Is this going to turn it upside down? Are we going to lose people we really care about? All of these fears are coming in, into our minds of putting these strict measures in place. But we decided to just rip the Band-Aid off January 1. So we worked with the agents for Q4 of 2020 to say, this is coming. And what this was in our CRM system, which we use Follow Up Boss, the agents had to have a task on every single lead in their database. They couldn't have overdue tasks. And if they did not have a task on all of their leads, if they had anything overdue, or if we noticed that they were not communicating 100% in the system, meaning calls, emails, texts, all logged in the system, then we were on a daily basis pausing agents from incoming lead flow. So naturally, when we launched this out, there were a lot of unhappy people. I spent many hours literally holding the agent's hand, going through to get their databases back up to date. And what that meant was, agents who'd been on the team for years, they were accumulating massive databases, like thousands and thousands of people deep, that were really just rotting in those. Like, no one was servicing them. They were serving nobody at that point.
You have a maximum that the team members are allowed to have now?
Now there's no maximum because everybody works differently, but nobody gets an award for having the biggest database. So they need to, basically, we have some agents who they thrive having a tight, small database of 150 people. We have other agents that have the organization and the discipline to be able to service a database of 1,200. So it really depends on that individual agent, but everybody has to stand up to the same rules, basically database rules. And so that person who's got 1,200, obviously they have a lot more work to do to remain eligible for leads. So yeah, every day we pause, we unpause. We had one agent who, dug their heels in and didn't receive leads for 6 months, those first 6 months. And we just said, hey, I support you. This is not going away. I believe in this. Like, the logic is telling us this is the right way to operate our business. And over those 6 months, I was able to show, hey, these are the leads that this agent found. These are the deals that came out of this nurture. I was able to give examples of where this new way of working was starting to benefit a lot of the other agents. So that helped kind of, win the others over that were perhaps a little bit more hesitant.
Show by example, right?
Yeah.
Leading by example. So how do you go and you recruit from, how many agents do you have now on your team?
I don't know. It's around 75 and 80. Yeah.
Okay. So you went from 23 to 75 in just a couple of years. And
yes.
What did you put into place in order to achieve that? And how was that received by your sales team?
Yeah, that was hard too. It's tough. Like, I think that also came with, building that trust over time, that when we put this recruitment strategy in place, it was never with the intention to have the same amount of leads being divided over 75 people rather than 23 people. So naturally, over time, as our agent count has grown, we've been continuing to pour gas on lead flow so that we're always bringing in enough leads to serve the size of the team that we have. So my goal is always that agent number, let's say 76, has zero impact on agent number 1 and their ability to earn. And that has been proven, because year after year, our agents earn more money each year. Basically, they continue to grow their business. They continue to grow in the leaderboard and the standings and things like that. And so we've basically proven the fact that, okay, you don't need to be worried anymore about the growth of our team, because you trust that we're going to take care of you and make sure that we always have enough opportunity. Yeah. So what that looked, it was work, right? And over the years, it's been a lot of nurture. I've got a guy that's in boot camp just right now, this week. And I first interviewed him in the fall of 2020. So sometimes it's a really journey with these agents, and other times it's fast.
So what does your daily accountability look like for your agents? Is there a number of minimum conversations, or contacts,
So for us,
names on leaderboard?
the absolute minimum standard. So now, originally we started out as a task-based accountability. Now we are stage-based accountability in FUB. So agents have to stage their database by A, B, or D. Your A clients, you have to communicate at least once a week, B clients bi-weekly, C clients monthly, and D clients at least once every 3 to 6 months. So basically, and then the agents, the average age is about 700 to 800 people deep. So they carry large databases. So I don't have minimum standards as far as number of calls or conversations or anything like that per day, but they do have to stay up to date on those parameters in order for them to be eligible for leads. So naturally, they are making calls every single day of the week in order to remain eligible for leads.
So during this difficult time we've been in the real estate over the last, say, year or so, have you seen the sales volume go down with the team, or has it been the same or better?
Yeah, so this year, like our numbers are tracking basically flat to last year, which I think is a win considering the year. This is a wonky year. Like our Q1, we were up against monster numbers from 2022. And then the rest of the year was just kind of a bit of a roller coaster. So we're tracking flat to last year, but we're also flat as far as recruits. Like we're almost even Steven on the number of agents we have at the end of the year versus the beginning. And I think, we've seen a lot of change this year in the real estate industry. And a lot of people joined us during times that were much easier to be an agent. So, getting into this bit through the hot times of real estate, your tenure in real estate, your age, your skill didn't matter as much because the market was so hot that it was lifting you up regardless. This year was a different for us. So we were seeing agents really struggling to accept reality that, okay, I have to differently. This is going to be tougher than I think. And not everybody, were cut out for it. So we had agents this year actually not leave us to go somewhere else, like to another team or another brokerage, but left the industry altogether to go back to their former careers. So we saw a lot of that this year. So we ended up flat on numbers. We also ended up flat on recruits, which is a great lesson in that if you are a team leader watching this, when you are doing your planning, you need to keep your numbers flat because you're going to have people on your team that are going to do more business than last year. You're going to have people on your team that do less business than last year. You're going to have people on your team that are even Steven, but it's going to work out to be the same. So your growth is in agents on your team and agent for us. Had I started the year at 75 and ended the year at 100, I probably would have surpassed my 2022 numbers this year, but I did not.
There definitely is less people getting into the industry, that's for sure. We know that the schools are down significantly, 50, 60, 70%, at least here in the USA. Same in Canada?
So it's a bit different in Canada. It's a longer period. It's more expensive and it takes longer. So the average person takes 18 months to do their course and it's almost 10 grand to do it in Canada. So we have a smaller pool of people that are getting their license here in Canada on a regular basis.
Do you know how many licensees you have in the country?
In the country, I don't know, but a lot because I just look in our area. So in our immediate board, we've got about 3,500 agents, but we're just outside of Toronto. And then in the Toronto board, there's over 70,000 agents in the Toronto board. We're going to see that number shrink back, in my opinion. Just, a lot of people had their license and were doing this part-time. And, the market, I think it's good. Like when we have these ups and downs in the market, it really kind of starts to clean up like the profession in the sense that, it doesn't make sense anymore for a lot of these agents just to keep their license part-time. And really that's not great for our industry because they're not, up to date on their skills. They're not up to date on all their education. So, we really, on our team, we require agents work full-time. They can't have another job to be on our team because we want to have a full-time agent who this is their only job. This is, their 100% focus. And we feel that that's going to get a better experience for our clients.
Absolutely. 100%. I don't know really how being part-time, when I say part-time, I would say that you have another position somewhere else, is in the best interest of any organization or the client. I talk to a lot of sellers and buyers and agents, and the sellers are very frustrated if the agent is part-time.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Mainly the sellers more so than the buyers, but in the buyers, the sellers, they feel it. It's a different skill set in being a listing broker versus a buyer's broker. So
For sure. And just, our team operates a little bit differently. Like, we meet regularly, we have a lot of trainings. So it would be very difficult to work around another job at the same time.
how often do you meet?
We meet, so our Tuesdays at 9:30. They're on Zoom, so once a week on Zoom, but then quarterly we meet in person for a special meeting that we call SOCA, which is a state of the company address. And SOCAs are my favorite meetings of the whole year. They're amazing. So basically what we do at those events, we're so large now between like staff and agents and all of our departments that we meet at a movie theater because we have over 100 people total. So we get popcorn and pop. And at these meetings, the leadership team talks about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And it's a huge piece because one thing that, is the worst thing that could happen for me is for somebody that I care about, that has great potential on our team, to come into my office and say, "Hey, Holly, I'm sorry. I've decided to go another direction. I'm going to be leaving the team." I don't in that moment want to be saying, but we have a great thing coming and we have that great thing coming. And oh, if you only knew what's coming down the pipeline, that happens very, very often. So for us, we want to always be fully transparent with our team, where we've been, where we are, where we're going. They need to know our goals. They need to know exactly what the leadership team just worked on in the last 90 days and what our plans are in the next 90 days. They need to know, that we're hearing the challenges. We do regular feedback loops and surveys and stuff like that, and we take them up as a group. We do all of these things so that everybody knows where we're going. And where we're going, it's on the leadership team to make sure where we're going is absolutely incredible, so that it makes, it's with retention to say, okay, I don't want to leave yet because I know the XYZ is coming and I want to be here when that happens. So these SOCA meetings are really, really, they're fun. Leadership team puts a lot of effort into them, which is great. We'll have training elements. We'll do games. Yeah, it's just a time to get together. So those are our weekly mandatory meetings. We also have a Monday morning mastermind that's optional. We have role play clubs. We do lots of lunch and learns. We have lots of other meetings per week that are optional, but that once a week sales meeting on Tuesday mornings, that everybody is at those.
So it sounds like you have a lot of opportunities for people to connect in your organization.
Yes.
And keeping agents close to you. So that's really fantastic. Tell me about what you have going for into 2024, and what are some of your key things that you're building?
Okay, going into 2024, we are spending a lot of time. We want to get back into doing a lot more community events. So prior to 2020, we had lots of different client events and community events that were going on. Those obviously stopped for a little while, about 2 years. And so we need to get that kind of stuff back on the agenda again. We're planning different agent events. We run these events called Win in Any Market, and they are amazing events for us to give back to the agent community. So these are
I know that you have a great success in that. You had like 300 or so people go. So let's dive into that. That was going to be my next question.
Sure. So these events, so it started through the pandemic, and we started them on Zoom because everybody's sitting at home. And a lot of agents didn't have the luxury of having a great, not everybody had a great broker or a great team leader that was, fearless during those times, like say Rob was. So we would host on Zoom. We'd get like a great guest speaker to come on, and we would have, a few hundred people signing up for those things. And then people got kind of zoomed out. So we parked it. At the end of 2022, I think it was. The end of last year, we decided to start doing them live again. So the first, we always line up a couple of speakers. So it's about 2 hours long in total. And it's all education for agents. And we basically send out surveys to the agent population, everybody in our board, to say, hey, what do you want to learn about? Do you want to learn about AI? Do you want to learn about sales? Do you want to learn about, real estate investing, social media? So we kind of gather that information of what they want, and then we go find that speaker that's going to be able to deliver on that, and have a really nice time. So we food. We have it at a beautiful venue, and it's just this really amazing networking event, an educational event for agents. And the last one that we did, we ended up also doing a vendor marketplace in the foyer. So with that, we brought in, we invited many of our preferred vendors in, home inspectors, mortgage brokers, lawyers, things like that, painters, same day painters, and they all, were able to come and interact with all the agents as well. And we just really wanted, the agent that no matter what their tenure was, they could have been currently in the course, not even registered agent yet, or they could have been in the business for decades. We wanted them to leave with value.
That's awesome. So you have one all lined
No,
up.
we run them spring and fall. It's a huge, we would probably have to, hire someone just fully dedicated to it. It's a lot of work to put these things on. So we usually run them twice a year. I would love to run them more often because they're amazing. But so our next one will likely be, it'll be, I think we're targeting May 1st right now. So we just have to work out the venue.
Oh, that's fantastic, Holly. So one of the things you also mentioned was recruiting agents to align with your core values.
Yeah.
What are those on the Golfi team?
So our core values are gets it, owns it, lives it, feels it, and it's about we. So it's a lot about, basically, it's an acronym for Golfi. And this might sound funny, but often, I care more about who these people are as a person than I do their skills and experience in the business. Because if I have somebody that is, 10 plus years in the business, has done dozens and dozens of deals, but if they're going to come in and, they lack integrity, or they're not kind, or they're, all of these, these negative acts that sometimes people have, they could completely upset the balance of our team. So, the saying, one bad apple could spoil the bunch. It really, we've experienced that over time. So if you are, if I can tell you got grit, you are ready to go, you're motivated, you're a coachable individual, you love part of a team environment. Okay, I can teach you how to be a great agent, but I can't teach you how to be a great person. So you got to come in first being a great person. And I can usually feel that within a couple minutes if I'm going to be vibe with this person or not. And, we've made some bad choices over the years, but there's 3 reasons why I never say goodbye to anybody. One, they don't mesh well with our culture. So they're negative, they're unkind, they're nasty, things like that. 2, you could have somebody who is not, probably the most common would be not making enough calls. They're not taking enough action. They're not doing enough work in order to contribute to a result. But the 3rd reason that is often underlooked is they're making tons of calls, but they're not converting anything. So on all 3 of those cases, so if they're not a good person, there's very little I can do. So usually that person, we end up just saying goodbye to them early on, because usually people will show their true colors quite quickly. But the other 2, the not making enough calls or making too many but not converting, in those cases, we will work with that agent, coach that agent, because we saw something in them. They just need a little bit extra support to get them to the finish line. So we use these tools called a performance improvement plan, or a PIP. And those agents work with us over a period of 4 to 6 weeks. And more often than not, the agents go off of the PIP and they're in good shape to keep going. If we don't see significant change over that time, then we might need to make a decision. But, in most cases, agents are able to move on from there and succeed.
So you have lots in place in order to help them be successful. That's for sure.
Yes. We're very system oriented. We're very process oriented. And I think, the agents, we do enough, we are very, very transparent. So they know what's coming, right? So it's okay, if I don't do my calls, I might be going on this, which might lead to that. So, they know that there's a process in place for everything. And I think that's comforting. And I think that is provides security. It provides, a lot of trust and things like that, we are applying the same rules to everybody. And, we're here to support everybody to the finish line, proven way that we know works.
Leading with principles and standards and our personalities.
Yes, absolutely.
That we know that works, right?
Yes, it does. It's hard sometimes, right? Because, that agent that I mentioned that didn't get leads for 6 months, like, that agent is a closer. That agent, like, it killed me to not send leads to this individual because they are so talented. But I couldn't. Like, I had to just, I knew it was the right thing to do. And I knew that we were operating before using the CRM system just as basically an address book, to grab the call, never go back in there. Like, that's not sustainable. And that's not a solution for long term. So they needed to be the solution, and they needed to, put standards and stuff like that in place for themselves. And it's been good. Accountability is important. People love accountability. And I have a quote in my boot camps: find somebody who cares as much about your business as you do. And that is so important, because, I could just wanted to make friends with all of the agents and pat them on the back and tell them they're doing a good job all the time. But is that going to help them grow? Like, they don't need that. Like, they need someone who really actually does care if they, are wasting business sitting in their database, and someone who does care that, like, hey, like, you haven't made many calls this week. Is everything okay? Like, do you need to talk? What's going on? Oh, no, thank you. That's, you always reach out when I need you. I just needed that in the pants to get going again. So that's what you need. So, if anyone's listening to this and, like, you're at your brokerage right now thinking, I don't know if anybody cares if I didn't make calls this week, I would argue, you're probably at the wrong place, because it is really important that you're with an organization, with a leader who is caring enough and brave enough to call you out, because it's too easy to kind of get into that funk, and it's really hard to get out.
Absolutely. I called somebody out last week on, I just said, hey, that's me. And their interpretation was, I'm going to resign from here. So there was nothing more than, look, the calls weren't being made. It's obvious, because we use follow-up boss. And the highest form of love is accountability. So whether that's at work or at home, I mean, we all have to be held accountable.
For sure. But that person will look back one day and say, like, Maria was right. And, it stung and it hurt in the moment, but, like, maybe I should have stayed because she actually cared about me.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I care. Not everybody cares as much as I do. So
yeah,
it's a problem. A lot of people that, there are a lot of people that don't want to be held accountable, but this is not the right organization. And it's a very difficult business to begin with, especially during these times. I also believe that this is the time where superstars are made. So you continue, we'll do more, keep being the solution. I'm sure your business is going to grow with more agents next year, Holly, that want to continue to be in the business. And you do a great job for Rob. He is so fortunate to have you. You're a fantastic leader, and more than that, a fantastic human, woman, wife, mother. So God bless. Thank you so much for being on Be the Solution podcast. And we'll touch base with you next year, Holly, and check in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.